Thank you so much for joining me today and being here. Today's message is short and sweet, and it's not something that I was planning on, but it's something I came across, a beautiful message. And when I did, I knew right away I wanted to share it with you guys because it really gets at the heart of some of the most fundamental pieces of well being and feeling whole and feeling healthy. So, welcome to the show for all of us, which is a show about feeling better and empowering yourself in body, mind, and spirit. And if you're new here, I'm Sarah Moran. My background is in journalism and in writing, and also in education and teaching around healthy lifestyle choices and self care. And I'm available for working with individuals or groups in teaching on some of those pieces. So, back to today's message. This came recently to my inbox from my friend Carol in Australia. And Carol and I met in a class several years ago that was about working with energy for healing. And I'll tell you more about that later. But for now, just to tell you that she teaches Qigong and yoga and does energy healing, sound healing, myofascial release, in person and online, working with empaths and healers and givers. And her brand's called My Essence. And she's been expanding with some really neat new offerings. And so, in one of her emails about what she's launching, she wrote this piece, this movement that I feel really gets at the heart of some important things. And so, when I read this, I loved it so much, and I shared it with my family. I printed it out, and I asked Carol if I could share it with you guys. And so, here's what she said in her email that I had read. It says, "The heart of my essence is not just a philosophy, but a movement. My essence is a return to my natural rhythm, a rhythm that honors the sacredness of my being and my energy. I am made from the same intelligence that grows forests, shapes rivers, and turns the seasons. When I live from my essence, I live from that intelligence, effortless, intuitive, in flow. I no longer abandon myself to meet expectations. I no longer rush to overwhelm my nervous system. I no longer silence my body's wisdom with my mind. I no longer shrink my truth to please others. I no longer give from depletion. I choose to live from my essence. When I choose myself, I return to my essence. When I honor my needs, I fill my cup first. When I set clear boundaries, I protect my energy. And when I slow down, I move in alignment with myself. When I live in harmony with myself, abundance flows through my life. My energy is sacred. My essence is sacred. I return to my essence." So this piece really says it all. It captures so many fundamental pieces of wellness and well-being. And one thing I wanted to highlight here is that when we see ourselves and our lives as sacred, then we also see others and their lives as sacred, and all beings and all of life as sacred. As Carol says, we are made of the same intelligence that grows forests, shapes rivers, turns the seasons. When we can honor that sacredness and see that is our true essence and focus on that and the essence of all beings, that's when we can find acceptance for ourselves and for others. It's when we can find compassion for ourselves and all beings. We can find ways to give ourselves the space to be who we really are and give other people the space to be who they really are. And we take better care of ourselves and better care of others. Just think, if you went around seeing everyone and everything as sacred, how daily life might look different. And this all also ties into another topic that I really have been wanting to share more about, which is authenticity. And I'm going to talk about that in a future show. But because Carol's piece is really talking about being true to your true essence. And so that's really about authenticity, which is super, super powerful. And for now, I just want to say that being authentic and being real and who you truly are is so important for health and well-being, physical health, mental health, emotional health, and just general contentment and peace of mind. And I think it's so much more important than we often realize. And so we'll talk about that more later on. But for now, just to say that, focusing in on Carol's point about how important it is to make the choice to live from your essence. So that might bring the question, okay, so how do we do that? And there are a lot of answers to that and a lot of different routes to that, but it also comes down to some pretty similar and simple themes, one of which is self awareness, intention, conscious living, making a commitment to your own health and healing and well being, and committing also to routine or regular practices that really bring you back to you. And that's another thing I'd like to talk more about later. And along those lines of finding a regular practice, I would definitely recommend you look into Carol's offerings and her services with My Essence. I have personally experienced how transformative that Carol and her work are, especially if you are highly sensitive, you're an empath, you're a healer, a giver, a helper. Check out her work for sure, see if it looks like a fit for you. Like I said, I met Carol several years ago when we kind of synchronistically landed in a breakout room in this energy healing class. By the way, if you're wondering what is she talking about with energy healing, that's okay. Hang with me. That's also a topic I want to share more about in future episodes. But for now, just to say, Carol has a lot of experience in a variety of different methods for working with energy for healing. But in this class, we ended up together, and so she was practicing on me, and I was totally blown away by how helpful it was. It was amazing. And so I went on after the class to buy packages with Carol, and I just always left feeling like peaceful, balanced, clear, light, steady. And Carol has such a lovely personality. She's very warm and very like peaceful and joyful herself. And we shared a lot, and I've known her for a long time, and I've never felt embarrassed or judged ever by anything I ever shared with Carol. And so I think that's an important testament to share. And I promise that I'm not secretly in marketing for Carol. I just want to connect people with resources that can be really helpful. And so that's why I'm telling you about this as long as I'm reading her beautiful piece. And the new membership space she has just launched is called the Tea Garden, which is an online sanctuary space. And she has a ton of different practices that can support you to really fill your cup and cultivate your best health and live an abundant life. And so in that membership space, you get access to more than 500 recorded classes with yoga and qigong and sound healing. And then she's always adding more classes. And then a monthly live cheese circle that kind of helps you connect with other like-minded community. And then she has additional master classes and special events and some deep discounts if you work with her on energy healing. So her website is myessence.com.au, and I'll also put that in the show notes. But again, it's myessence.com.au, like for Australia. And then remember too that, I say this all the time, but when you do things like what Carol's outlining here about returning to your true self and then doing the things that help you take care and honor that, you really do also tend to the rest of the world. It really does ripple out into the field and makes a positive impact. And that space where you're taking good care of yourself and honoring who you really are is the best space from which you can naturally make a bigger contribution actually in the world by just simply being your truest self. And then because self-awareness is kind of tied in here, if you'd like more details about that, you can check out my episode 2, which is called My Number One Health and Wellness Tip. And then episode 3, which is 10 ways to deepen self-awareness. And then if you're kind of thinking about these things about My Essence and, who is my essence, or who am I? What is that? A little more deeply about identity, you can also check out episode 7, which is called Who Are You Really and Who Am I? So I am going to read this one last time at the end, but I just want to thank you again for listening. And if this message was helpful to you and you know someone you think would benefit from hearing these words, I hope you'll pass it along. And remember that you can subscribe free to this show on YouTube. And you can hit to get notifications to know when there's a new show. And then you can also subscribe free on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you have those platforms. And you can also go to Substack. Again, I'm in process of starting uploading videos to there, but you can find me at forallofus.substack.com or just at forallofus, and I'll start uploading those, and then you can receive an email notification when there's a new episode. So thank you again for taking the time to join me here, and I will look forward to next time when I'm going to, or planning to, you never know how things will come up like this piece did, but I would love to share with you about self-compassion, self-acceptance, and self-compassion, which are super, super important. But I'm going to read the piece one more time so you can just kind of sit back and relax and let the words soak in again if you would like. The heart of my essence is not just a philosophy, but a movement. My essence is a return to my natural rhythm, a rhythm that honors the sacredness of my being and my energy. I am made from the same intelligence that grows forests, shapes rivers, and turns the seasons. When I live from my essence, I live from that intelligence. Effortless, intuitive, in flow. I no longer abandon myself to meet expectations. I no longer rush to overwhelm my nervous system. I no longer silence my body's wisdom with my mind. I no longer shrink my truth to please others. I no longer give from depletion. I choose to live from my essence. And when I choose myself, I return to my essence. When I honor my needs, I fill my cup first. When I set clear boundaries, I protect my energy. When I slow down, I move in alignment with myself. When I live in harmony with myself, abundance flows through my life. My energy is sacred. My essence is sacred. I return to my essence. Thank you. Bye-bye.